Welcome back, everyone. Let's go ahead and do a comparison between the iPhone SE2 and the Google Pixel 5a and see which one you should go and pick up. Now, these two are, I guess, the most budget phone offerings from both of these manufacturers. The iPhone SE2 costs $400 brand new from Apple. The Google Pixel 5a costs $449 brand new from Google. Now, if you want to pick up either one of these phones, the links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, you can definitely see there's quite a bit of a difference. They both have a little bit of a different design. The iPhone SE2 has a 4.7-inch panel, a much smaller device. Obviously, it has quite a bit of bezel around it. Home button design, I guess, this is a pretty outdated design, especially compared to something like a Pixel 5a. I don't think it looks ugly, but it's definitely outdated, especially when you look at the massive, beautiful 1080p panel, 6.3-inch. On the Pixel 5a. Now this one's a hole punch display. Now I will say the build quality is better on the iPhone SE2. It's a hole punch display, it looks great. I've had very little issues with this specific panel, and I think overall it looks and performs extremely well. So in terms of the front, and definitely the Pixel 5a is better. Now in terms of the side, the Pixel 5a definitely is a much thicker phone for sure. The iPhone SE2 is actually a very thin phone, but with that thickness you actually do get a much bigger battery, so that's a big thing to keep in mind. And on the back, we have a glass back on the iPhone SE2. We have a metallic aluminum, I guess, build on the Pixel 5a. It definitely feels a little bit more like plastic, but I still think it looks pretty good. And definitely the phone feels much better on the iPhone SE2. This is a much better feeling phone, but the Pixel 5a just looks better overall. You also have a headphone jack on the top of the Pixel 5a, USB-C on the Pixel 5a, only a lightning port on the iPhone SE2, which is still great. Now on the top corners, you do have a dual camera setup here, single camera setup on the iPhone SE2, which we'll get into in a second. You do have wireless charging on the iPhone SE2, where you don't have any wireless charging on the Pixel 5a. So that's another minor thing to keep in mind. So in terms of the outside, that pretty much covers it up. Now another massive thing to keep in mind between both of these phones is the software. Well, you're running stock software on both. There's not a lot of bloatware either, so that's another pretty big advantage for both of these phones. Now the iPhone SE2 with iOS, this phone is going to be supported for several more years, and depending on how Google approaches this next release cycle, this phone may actually end up, outlasting the Pixel 5a. I'm not 100% too sure, but that's probably what's going to end up happening. I'm a fan of iOS, I love iOS, and I love stock software, which is why I also like the Pixel 5a. This is a perfect phone for a lot of people out there. This phone has very good software as well, and very little to complain about, and longevity-wise for an Android device, this is a very good performing phone in terms of, software. Not a lot of bloatware, not a lot of things going on in the background, and that's why I and a lot of other people love this phone. So, in terms of a software standpoint, that covers it up there. Now let's go ahead and do a speed comparison between both these devices. Now the iPhone SE2 has that Apple A13 Bionic chip inside of it with 3 gigs of RAM, where the Google Pixel 5a has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 765G chipset with 6 gigs of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster phone between both of these. Okay, now that we're back, all the apps I think are cleared out in the background, so let's get into it. Let's do phone calls, 3, 2, 1. And the iPhone SE2, definitely a little bit faster there. Let's do their app stores, 3, 2, 1. And yeah, the Pixel 5a definitely was faster there. Swiping through, as always, I think, the iPhones are a little bit smoother, but the Pixel 5a is definitely far faster. Let's go and hop out of this one. Let's get into their cameras, 3, 2, 1. Both were about the same, not that big of a difference. As always, I have a bunch of these third-party apps we can go and get into. Let's do Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And I think the iPhone SE2 was actually faster here. And I wasn't expecting the SE2 to be faster in any way, so that's kind of surprising. And you can see eventually, dude, I don't know why this phone crashed like that. That's very weird. Brand new phone here too, so that's another very important thing to keep in mind. Now I would do BOFA, but I guess we don't have it. Let's get into Instagram, 3, 2, 1. Definitely faster on the Pixel 5a there. Let's do Twitter again, 3, 2, 1. SE2 a little bit faster. Let's do Snake vs. Blocks, 3, 2, 1. And there we go. Let's get into some gameplay, which I don't think there's going to be that big of a difference, but it's still worth kind of showing off on both. And both of them are about the same. Hopping out of this one, let's do Stack. 3, 2, 1. And that one kind of covers it up there. Let's go and do Quizlet. 3, 2, 1. And the iPhone SE2 a little bit faster. Dune, which I do not have here. So Snapchat 3, 2, 1. And a little bit of a difference there. The 5A was pretty fast. Let's end it off with Fruit Ninja 3, 2, 1. And it kind of looks like the SE2 may be a little bit faster here. And the SE2 was a little bit faster to load up into this specific game. So I think, to be honest, this one is kind of close between both. I think the SE2 may be a little bit faster. I think that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting between both. I don't think it's a crazy big difference, though, in terms of speed comparison. Like, I wouldn't pick up one or the other based on the speed, but they both were pretty close. I think the SE2 was faster and possibly more stable. It seems like they're kind of, messing up around the same part, too. So I think when it comes down to both, the SE2 may be faster and smoother. The Pixel 5a is still a very fast phone too, so that covers it up there. Now let's go and hit on the cameras. Now with the iPhone SE2, you get a single 12 megapixel lens, and this is a pretty good camera overall. I've compared it heavily to a lot of other phones. You have 4K at 60 on the back, you have 1080p on the front, but that's pretty much the same setup on both. The only disadvantage with this specific camera is that it is a single camera lens. You still get things like portrait mode though and everything, which is really, really nice. But unfortunately, you don't get like the ultra-wide sensor that the Pixel 5a has. Although the camera quality on this phone is still very good, I still prefer a phone that has multiple camera sensors. Now on a phone like the Pixel 5a, that's pretty much where this phone is. One of its biggest capabilities is that ultra-wide sensor. So being able to go ahead and utilize that ultra-wide sensor is really awesome. And this is a very good camera. Like, I think this is a very solid camera, 4K at 60 on the back, but again, 1080p on the front camera. I really do think this camera has a really good advantage over the iPhone SE2. I think the quality of this camera is also extremely good, and I don't think it's like beating like some. I think the S21 has a better camera setup, but this thing is also pretty good, which makes me happy about what the Pixel 6 is going to bring. So when it comes down to both of these cameras, I would definitely give it to the Pixel 5a for sure. I think the SE2 still has a good camera, but the Pixel 5a wins. And now to kind of sum up the video, I mean, should you buy an iPhone SE2 or should you buy a Pixel 5a? Well, this is what I'll tell you. I think the better phone overall is probably the Pixel 5a. I think this phone looks better. It doesn't really perform better, but I think it is a better phone. You get a better looking display and much better battery life on the 5a, which is one of or two of the biggest complaints about the iPhone SE2. I think the SE2 is a tremendous phone, but even for the price tag, you look at the Google Pixel 5a and you see that Google put in a lot of effort on this device, which makes me really happy about this phone. I'm not too sure what Apple was thinking with the SE2. I mean, it's a great phone, but it is pretty much it was already outdated when it first came out. I think the 5a is a pretty good phone, but where the 5a kind of messes up at, the iPhone SE2 is pretty good at. I think the build quality of the SE2 is arguably better than the Pixel 5a. This is a much better feeling phone in the hand. Software wise, I think this is a very smooth phone. I've noticed that my iPhone SE or the Pixel 5a is pretty glitchy sometimes whenever I'm doing anything with it. With the iPhone SE2, it's a very smooth ride, which is something I really do like, and it's a little bit cheaper in the brand new market than the Pixel 5a. If it was between both, I think I'd rather have a 5a, but the SE2 is still a very good phone too. So that pretty much covers it up there. If you want to pick up either one of these phones like I mentioned before, links are down in the description. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section as well. Hit the like button, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.